Welcome to our few minutes that we have together. I would invite you, wherever you are on this day, just settle in, just get comfortable. Just if you're standing, just stop where you are. If you're seated, get really anchored into your seat. If you're lying down, just stretch out really long. But I encourage you to find a position physically that just honors what you need for these few minutes. What gives you a chance to really come into this present moment with as few distractions as possible. And so as you settle into your spot, before we start to breathe together, I would invite you just to kind of listen and notice. Maybe you even look around and just get a sense of everything that's around you. Know the space where you are. Maybe it's familiar, maybe it's not. Listen for the sounds outside the window, in the house, in the room. And just kind of know your surroundings. And as your eyes gently begin to close, let all of those things around you just disappear for just a moment. The eyes are closed, so you can't see anything. You're beginning to notice your in-breath and your out-breath, so you're paying attention there. Your body is comfortable, so it won't distract you, or maybe not. But there's this beautiful way of just coming into meditation where we just say to these distractions, to all the stuff around us, this is my time. I'm going to take these few minutes for me. And so as we do that, let's collectively begin to breathe together. So just take a slow, deep breath in and a full, deep breath out. And a gentle breath in and a gentle breath out. One more like that, breathing in and breathing out. And then just use that breath as your way of staying anchored right here. With the eyes not looking around, with the focus turned internally, with the sensations just running through you in this present moment. So we're on this journey looking at these agreements, this ancient indigenous way of looking at how we establish relationships and how we communicate. And Don Miguel Ruiz gave us this translation of these beautiful agreements, and we've been sitting with them for a few days. And the first agreement reminds us to be impeccable with our words, to really speak with intention, to speak with truth. And he actually tells us that once we get that be impeccable part down, the others just really fall into place. But along the way, he tells us the second agreement is that we can't take things personally. We can't drink in the poison that other people give us by the stuff that they're going through and the things that they say. We can't bring those things in personally to us. And those lead us right into this third agreement that we're going to sit with for these few minutes today. This agreement that says, don't make assumptions. Agree that you won't make assumptions. And I would guess that in most of our relationships, we make assumptions a lot, sometimes not even realizing that we've done it. We assume that people will know what we want and what we need, even though we never said it out loud. And when someone does say something or does look at us a certain way, we assume a story behind that look or behind those words. But what this ancient indigenous teaching tells us is that this agreement of not making assumptions means we need to communicate. We need to speak our truth and be willing to listen as others speak theirs. And when truth really guides our conversations with each other and guides our relationships, there's no space for assumptions. There's no need for them even to exist. But I know that for most of us, this is a hard one. Advocating for ourselves, asking questions when we don't really understand. Sometimes it's really difficult. We think that maybe we just should know or we ought to know. And so we don't ask and we assume. And sometimes that assumption becomes our truth. We actually believe that it's true. We didn't come with a manual. We can't hand someone a book to figure us out. The only thing we have is our word. And so I thought as we sit with this assumption today, that we go back to one of our most basic yogic teachings, one of our most basic teachings that we teach our children when they're growing up, and it's the teaching of truth. In Sanskrit, we call that satya. But the thing is, you can't teach truth until you know your truth. And so I thought, as we think about this idea of assumptions and our reading into things and this bad habit most of us have probably fallen into, let's go back to really knowing who we are and just sit with that person for a moment. And then see if that knowing, that level of truth, can begin to inform how we communicate with the people in our lives. And so I want to go back to those soul questions. I pose them often. My teacher used to pose them to me, and I come to them again and again because they truly take us back to the core of who we are. And as I ask these questions, don't strive to answer them. Don't try to think of an answer in your head or a response. Just sit with the question and notice what comes across your mind as you sit. The first question, ask, who am I? Who am I? At the deepest level of my core being, who am I? And the second question says, what do I want? As I dig down deep and I know who I am at the deepest level of my core being, what do I want? What is my heart's desire? What's the longing of my spirit? What do I want? And then that third question, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? What thing or things bring a smile to my face and help me feel deep appreciation? What am I grateful for? And then that fourth soul question, what's my purpose? What is my purpose, my unique contribution to this world? A contribution that no one else can make. What is my purpose? And as human beings with really rational, logical minds, we want to just strive until we have an answer to those questions. But this concept of satya, of truth, is just this gentle journey of exploration, of discovery. It's not answering a question. It's being aware of these habits of our mind that come up when the question is asked. And chances are, if we've all, as I guess we probably have, been guilty of this making assumptions, if we strive to answer these questions, there's a chance we're going to answer them according to what our assumptions have made us believe is true. We've believed assumptions we've made about others, and then that's changed how we see ourselves. And so this idea of who am I and what do I want and what is my purpose and what am I grateful for? We got to get down to the heart. But in order to do that, we have to get through what we call in Sanskrit these samskaras, these really deep, grooved thumbprints on our brains, on our memories, on our ways of being. There are these habits that maybe started off as these small, inconsequential things, and then they stuck. And they've really guided our way of being. And one of those samskaras for most of us probably is something associated with making assumptions. We read things into situations. We assume and we make mistakes. And then our communication and our relationships is really tough to navigate because we don't know what's true. So what I'd like for us to do is a way to maybe recognize some of these samskaras, these habits of mind, of practice, is I'd like us to just sit with pure, gentle, loving awareness and see what comes across your mind. Making assumptions like this agreement talks about, it impacts our relationships. And so maybe you'll see one of these relationships come across your mind's eye. Maybe you'll see how feelings have been affected by assumptions that have been made. Or maybe you'll see this reflection of yourself and feel so far away from the true being of who you are because of these assumptions that we've made. There's many things that can pop up and float across our mind's eye as we sit with awareness. But the most important thing is that we don't judge it. We use it as a teaching tool to show us the conditioning that's happened to this point and to help us see something different. But we cannot figure out where we're going until we know what got us to where we are right now. So let's just sit with these habits of mind, these samskaras, these patterns, these ways of being, and see what they have to show us for the next couple of moments. Breathing in this gentle, compassionate awareness, and breathing out gentle, compassionate awareness. Slow breath in and slow breath out. Continuing to breathe in and out, slow, compassionate breaths. I would invite each of us to think and picture the one person that is closest to your heart. It could be a significant other. It could be a parent. It could be a dear friend. It could be a sibling. But let's each picture one person's face. And just imagine, with pure potentiality, imagine your conversations with this person in the next 24 hours. If you don't make any assumptions about what they say or how they look at you or their tone or what they do. Imagine if you truly take it at face value, and then when you're not sure, you ask. Just imagine what the communications could look like and feel like when they say something or they look at you or they act. You take it exactly as it is, and if there's any uncertainty, you ask a question for clarity. And then, as you're communicating, you are so impeccable with your word. You speak with clarity. You speak with truth. And you don't force them to have to figure anything out. You say what you mean. And if they ask questions, you give explanations to help them understand more. It sounds so simple. As I thought about saying these words, I thought, it sounds so simple. We should know this. But our relationships in our families, our homes, our community, our nation would tell us that that's not how we speak to each other. That's not how we communicate. The ancient teaching tells us that whenever we are making assumptions, we are contributing to our own suffering. And I don't know about you, but I think there's enough suffering that I don't want to be a part of giving myself more. So if it feels right for you, just bring your hand to your heart, whichever hand feels more comfortable. And as you just press your hand right there at heart center, see the face of that person, the one you communicate with often that is so important to your heart. And just imagine if there was nothing in the way. You speak with impeccability. You listen with clarity. You ask questions without judgment. You say what you mean. And through that practice, I have a feeling our truth will become a little clearer. Truth is not something that just happens or manifests. We have to practice at it. We got to dig deep. We have to be willing to listen and have this gentle, loving awareness for whatever comes up. We agree to be impeccable with our word. We agree to not take things personally. And we agree to not make assumptions. This teaching is thousands of years old, and it served the wise, ancient indigenous people very well, and I know it could serve us well in this contemporary world that we live in right now. So together, take a slow, deep breath in. Taking in all your truth, all your parts, all your habits. And then exhale. Release the judgment. Release the shame. Release the disappointment. And from this moment forward, let's communicate from a place of truth. Namaste.